Welcome to my very first YouTube video. Exonovium here. This video is an introduction to Meshy AI for VRchat creation, a showcase of what I've been experimenting with, and also my thoughts on the current AI 3D model gen landscape. Later in the video, I will show you the full step-by-step process for how to quickly create a simple VRchat avatar with Meshy. If that's all you're interested in, feel free to skip ahead. Until then, I'm going to be yapping a bit, as I have a lot to say on this subject. So I want to start by acknowledging that AI use is still quite controversial, and while there certainly are valid arguments on either side of the debate, I think that what we can all agree on is that Pandora's box is open. The cat is out of the bag, so to speak, and AI is not going away. In fact, it's only going to keep getting better and better. For individual creators like me who don't have a team or vast amounts of cash to rely on, AI is a very tempting option. I first became interested in it because I love creating VRchat worlds, but I personally don't have the time to spend hundreds of hours learning and using Blender. And I could only afford a limited number of 3D model purchases from sites like Sketchfab and CG Trader. In May this year, Meshy-3 was released, and in August I discovered it and immediately became obsessed. My first big experiment was building an entire VRchat world with Meshy called Cloud Temple. I did this by prompting and generating individual terrain chunks and objects, then positioning them together to create an environment, and I found the results very promising. Everything in this footage, except for the grass and water, was AI generated. Not only did the world look pretty, if a little bit blobby, like the trees for example, but the thing that sold me was how extremely easy to optimize it was. Since Meshy's AI texturing algorithm can add a huge amount of visual detail to what are essentially low-poly objects. It's kind of an optical illusion, and the end result is a unique visual look reminiscent of photo scanning, except without the high poly count. That brings us to the present, and the current version, Meshy-4, released in August this year, is way better. It brought some huge mesh detail improvements, and it's now possible to generate high-quality, highly optimized 3D models for VRchat worlds, and even entire VRchat avatars extremely quickly. In early October, I created a world for the Spookality Halloween event, which hit the trending tab and was actually featured by VRchat. I used Meshy to generate all of the NPC characters and avatar rewards, and auto-rigged and animated them with Mixamo. And people loved it. I was kind of surprised. Pretty much everyone I talked to either couldn't tell what was AI generated or really didn't care. And I think this is indicative of where we're heading with AI as a creative tool. At the end of the day, for social games like VRchat, it's the ways in which the environment enables unique human connection that are important.
I just wanted the cheese. Summoned us.
It's always been hard as an individual world creator to be able to afford quality 3D model assets, and to be honest, many of these models are priced for game studio budgets, not individual hobbyists. Previously, if I needed a prop, like a frog, for my world, I would have had to pay somewhere around 10 or 20 USD for it. And that's doable, but over time, these individual props really start to add up in cost, especially when I might only use them for a single project. But with Meshy, I can just generate what I need for free, or just download one from the Meshy community. I think things are changing, and for broke, time-constrained creators like me, they're changing for the better. Soon, individuals will be able to utilize AI to do things that only AAA game studios could do in the past, and I think that's pretty cool. So, how do you actually AI generate a VRchat avatar? Well, the first step is to make a free Meshy account. You can use my referral link below if you want. Free users get 200 free credits a month, and with a bit of luck, this should be just enough to make an avatar, assuming you follow my advice carefully. There is currently a 3-day free trial promotion which gives you access to Meshy Pro's toolkit, and I do recommend taking advantage of this. But if you do, don't forget to cancel in that 3-day window if you don't want the full year plan charged. This trial also gives you community model downloads, and you can already find many T-Post characters ready to instantly download then convert to VRchat avatars. Meshy does have an amazing image to 3D option, but for the purposes of this tutorial, I'll be focusing on text to 3D. Once you have an idea for your avatar, you'll need to design a text prompt. It should be simple, clear, and focus on a few key details. Avoid writing a huge wall of complicated text. I recommend creating a humanoid body shape model. Avoid prompting characters with skirts, capes, or large accessories which will stretch or warp once auto-rigged. Avoid prompting specific colors, as this can take a lot of regenerations to get correct. If you want your character to have weapons or accessories, consider instead generating and adding these separately later in Unity or Blender. Once you've written your prompt, there are a few options to consider. Sculpture creates results more reminiscent of statues, and PBR will generate full material slot outputs, including a normal and displacement map. However, unless you're planning to 3D print your character, I wouldn't bother with this for VRchat. Select Realistic. Next, choose your poly count. The higher this is, the more mesh detail there will be, but at the cost of optimization. For VRchat, I recommend either 10K or 30K target poly count. VRchat's system will rate 30K as excellent for PC, but very poor for Quest, and should rate 10K as excellent for both. In my opinion, the detail jump from 30K to 100K isn't really worth it for the performance hit, and so most of my avatars are set to 30K polys. Next, select triangles for topology, as this is more optimized, unless you plan to manually edit the mesh in Blender later, in which case you should select quad. Finally, I recommend selecting symmetry to either auto, which will give some symmetrical outputs and some normal, or to forced on. This will attempt to mirror the character mesh and can be more likely to result in a T-posed output. However, you might also get some weird results. Once it's generated, you should see 4 mesh options. Examine these to see if any meet your requirements. Pick a model that is forward-facing, T-posed, has free limbs that aren't attached to the character's sides or loose clothing. The palms of the hands should be facing downwards or towards the character's body, not upwards. Ideally, the fingers should be spread apart. The head should have a clearly defined chin and should be high up and not deeply embedded in the character's upper torso. The legs should also be naturally positioned and not too far apart. Keep trying, but if it looks like it's a long way off from working and you're burning through your credits, then I recommend adjusting your prompt or even just trying a completely new idea. Sometimes all 4 of your mesh options won't meet these specific requirements for VRchat avatars for various reasons. This is pretty normal for all AI tools currently, and you won't necessarily get exactly what you're looking for first try. Once you generate a T-posed mesh that looks like it should work well, you can then generate the texture. Examine the final model and check for any problems. For example, for this character, some of his face skull texture was projected onto the hood. If you have a paid version of Meshy or the Meshy 3-day free trial, you can easily fix this with Meshy's AI Smart Healing. Simply select the area to heal, and it will take texture from the surrounding area to fill it with. A new model with the fixed texture will be generated next to it. You can then rotate the model and repeat this process until satisfied. We can also experiment with AI texture editing to modify individual parts of the character with entirely new text prompt design textures. For example, I can easily try different body armor options and clothing styles on my character. These textures are projected one direction at a time, so you will need to rotate the model as you go. Try to use the same or similar texture prompts where parts need to match, then select the closest option to what you've already done. Once finished, download the model as an FBX file. You'll get a compressed file which you can extract with either WinRAR or 7-zip. Both are free. There'll be a link below in the description. The next step is to auto-rig the model. Meshy does have its own animation feature that can do this. However, for the purposes of this tutorial, we will be using Mixamo.com, as at the time of recording this video, it has more advanced hand and finger rigging options. Mixamo is free, but you will need to make an account. Upload your .fbx file from Meshy to Mixamo and then place the markers in the correct positions. This is what Mixamo's auto-rigging algorithm relies on to correctly position the bones which control animations and movement in VRchat. Which skeleton options you choose will depend on your character's hands. If your character has 5 well-defined and separated fingers, use standard skeleton. If it has 2 or more fingers and a thumb, select 3 chain fingers, and if it has melted-looking oven mitts for hands, use 2 chain fingers. In this case, I'm going to use 2 chain fingers. Test your avatar out with some Mixamo animations to see how it will move in VRchat. This is the moment of truth. If everything is looking good at this point, congratulations, your avatar is now rigged. And I recommend downloading in the T-pose animation. If something instead looks horribly wrong, you may need to try rigging again with different marker positions, or maybe even going back and generating an entirely new avatar. Another option to fix the problems is Blender, which this tutorial doesn't cover. Finally, it's time to import into Unity and upload to VRchat. Download the VRchat Creator Companion and use it to install the current version of Unity for VRchat, and prepare an avatar project. Drag the rigged.fbx file downloaded from Mixamo into your Unity project. It will be named T-pose. The texture might look completely broken, and if so, you'll need to click the model and go to the import settings and extract the texture. In the import settings, click the Rig tab and change animation type from generic to humanoid. Now click Apply. Click on the avatar in your hierarchy and then click Add Component. Then find the VRchat avatar descriptor and add it. In the View Position section, click Edit and then drag the grey ball to the correct player viewpoint. This is usually about where the character's nose is, and then click Return. Now, click on the image_0 texture and apply it to the mesh to quickly create a new material that can be edited. You can adjust the shader and options like smoothness and metallic to your desired look. Another option is to search VRchat in the shader search box and select the VRchat Mobile Toon Lit shader. This shader is Quest compatible, self-lit, and very optimized. It will make your character clearly lit and visible through many world and lighting effects, including fog. Next, Click on the VRchat SDK tab, go to Builder, and fill out the avatar information. Select whether you want it to be private or public, and create and upload a thumbnail. Auto-fix all of the errors that you can and hit upload. Check your avatar in-game, and then if you want, you can switch to Android and upload a Quest-compatible version. I'll link someone else's tutorial below for that, as it is optional. One optional thing that I like to add to all of my Meshy avatars is Go Go Loco by Frenata. It's a single drag and drop prefab that adds a lot of avatar control options, including things like flight, for almost no extra work to set up. Link is in the description to a tutorial. And there you have it, an entire VRchat avatar from text prompt in less than 30 minutes. From here, you could add whatever upgrades you want, like dynamic bones, a moving mouth and eyes, and accessory toggles. If you get stuck or run into any problems, feel free to join my Discord community and ask for help. Also, don't forget to join the Meshy VRchat group and the Meshy Fan Hub for more tutorials and Meshy updates. A huge thank you to my Patreon patrons. You make what I do possible. I hope you enjoyed the video, and maybe if the reception to it is good, I'll see you again soon.